We are here at the New Age Banking Summit. We're here to celebrate the future. We're here to celebrate the future of banking. We're here to celebrate the work that you guys are doing to make sure that you are ready and thriving in the future. Today we're talking about banking on the future. That's the title I've given it, to sort of see how future ready you are. Are we ready enough for the future? Are you doing enough into the future? What do you think is going to define your future? Any idea? What do you think is going to define the future of your industry? How quickly you? Adapting to the future. Anybody else? Sir, you're going to be speaking later. What's going to define the future in your opinion? You're a senior business professional.
Technology will have a very profound impact.
Technology. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Sorry, sir? Convenience. Normally when I ask this question, I get blockchain, I get AI, I get technology, but my view, yes sir, demand. You have abundance like it's crazy. You'd be surprised how much demand there is. Yes sir.
I think for us, stop doing what you're doing today, because till you don't leave the present, you don't leave the future.
That's a very, very philosophically good answer, and yes, it is part of the answer. The core answer for me is that the future, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be defined by trust. In the past, trust is there. In the future, trust is going to become the most important factor that will drive the future. Ethics, values, humanity, empathy. Those are the key things that are going to drive the future. You can have fintech, but if you don't build trust, it doesn't work. You can have all the value components within banking. I mean, if you look at banking, there are three basic utilities in banking. You know, number one is storing value. Number two is transactions and moving money across. And number three is lending and credit. As we look into the future, let's look at incremental versus exponential. Now, if you think that putting a bank statement onto your mobile or onto your website is digital, it is only iterative. It's only incremental. It will not take you into the future. What we need to do is to go back to first principles thinking for you to be able to engage with the future. Everybody here is working on the next product, on the next business line in terms of what products you have. And the whole philosophy is where you are today will not actually get you to the next step. You will be working in this kind of environment. How do you fit into this environment? And there's a lot of technology in there. But how much humanity is in there? How much heart is in there? How do we build trust in this environment? And those are the key questions you need to be asking as you go forward. All of the industries are being disrupted, every single one of them. Some have already been substantially disrupted. Others we'll talk about today that are being disrupted. These are industries on the right are the ones that are resisting the most, by the way. They've got the biggest lobbies, they make the most money, and they are the ones who are resisting. And they also have very, very strict sort of what I call immunity systems within organizations. There was a study done in Boston and Babson College which basically spoke about the fact that 75% of the companies that were born in the previous century are going to actually go down over the next 5 to 10 years. Actually, the year was 2025. And 50% of the companies that will replace these 75% of the companies have not yet been born. So all of the new fintech companies, all the new organizations, they start coming in. So where we are today is in the middle. We are in the transformation decade. This is the space that we are in. We are today in New Age Banking Summit talking about that bit in the middle. Ladies and gentlemen, the banking industry is a victim of this. Bottom line, what got you here? Your fancy degree, your chartered accountancy, your banking qualifications, etc. It got you to today. It will not get you to tomorrow. The way to look at the future, a lot of us are focused on the microscope, our daily stuff, our budgets, our products, our digitization, etc., etc. What we need to do is how much of our time are we spending looking at the future? This is one of the key things that we need to engage with. So one other component, Bill Gates said that you are overestimating what's going to happen in the next 2 years, but underestimating what will happen in the following 10 years. This is how this shift actually comes about. Bank 4.0. When we look at Bank 4.0, 1.0 was Italy in the Middle Ages, 2.0 came with computing, 3.0 came with the internet. Now 4.0 is banking everywhere and nowhere. And that is one of the key things that's going to come in. A couple of quick comments. One of them is that the daily interactions digitally by the year 2030, daily, will be more than all physical interactions, banking, advisors, etc., all put together. 1. 2, digital onboarding, digital relationships, digital engagements will be the ones driving the future. You know this anyway. The third one is AI will be giving more advice than human beings, and then we'll take it forward. One of them is, do you know that in 2017, the total mobile transactions in China were 17 trillion. Do you know what they are today, in 2 years later? 22 trillion. All of Visa, MasterCard, MoneyGram, Western Union, all of them put together are 20 trillion. This is the kind of environment that you are working in and focused on. AI is going to fundamentally transform the world in this way by creating 50% of the future growth over the next 10 years is going to be AI driven. This is another critical area, identity and inclusion, KYC. KYC, what does it stand for? Kill your customer with paperwork. That's what KYC is. In the future, you don't need paperwork. Biometrics, facial recognition, bits and pieces like that. Why the hell do you need KYC? A face-to-face engagement between your relationship manager versus a highly sophisticated computer. This thing will be 20 times more efficient than your relationship manager. This particular institution will have a multi-trillion-dollar valuation, will have 3 billion customers, it does the whole suite of work that you folks are doing, and it's in over 100 countries. And the company is Ant Financial. And everybody is looking a little bit like, well, they don't have any real branches, they don't have any physical presence, they don't have actually a charter to work with, they have a smart wallet that they work on, and they are the biggest financial institution in the world. In the next 10 years, we will have up to $16 trillion worth of new value created from artificial intelligence and its associated extrapolated products and services. 16 trillion. That is half the total global GDP growth. In this country, 50% of the growth will come through AI and AI-related projects. However, AI has lots of issues. One of the most famous speeches I did was to AI or not to AI? And that is our final question. AI weaponized in the wrong hands is actually more dangerous than nuclear weapons. But I will talk to you about how it fits into banking and finance, and how earlier on I spoke about ethics, about trust. Now we're going to speak about ethics, and an ethics manifesto and a values manifesto, and how that fits into you folks as bankers to be an integral part of that. These are some of the key things that are going to happen because of AI. Privacy is a huge problem. Losing jobs is a huge problem. Wealth inequality is a huge problem. All of these elements are going to start coming in. So what they're saying is AI is your friend, and we'll need to make AI as our partner and as our friend, as long as we remain human and we remain in control. So what we did was we overlaid jobs on top of this particular chart to be able to see that repetitive jobs where you need no compassion and you need only optimization, they will all be there. All these jobs will disappear for human beings. We don't need to do them. These jobs here require creativity, and therefore they'll be here. And humans are required as part of this process. Humans are required as part of that process with AI at the center. Sorry, the humans, the analysis at the center, and AI and the humans are being supported by AI. And finally, this area here. And this is where we will find our solutions as human beings, as psychologists, as social workers, as teachers, as counselors, as psychologists, people who are the softer skills, as I spoke to you about earlier. And that is where we need to be in the top half, but as much on this side as possible. This is a really important chart, so it just gives you a flavor that yes, you will lose jobs, but only in this category. And you replace these jobs by training yourself to the ones at the top. How many people watching this are scared? How many people are hopeful? How many people are just stunned? Yes, sir. Well, the reason I said that, if you look at AI on a short-term basis, it creates data bias, you're losing jobs, lots and lots of short-term issues. I mean, give you data bias, for example, about 3 years ago, Facebook was collecting data sets in Australia for young children at 12, 13 years of age who were depressed. So they had sad faces. They got that data set out and sold it to people for money. Because these kids were depressed, therefore they would buy stuff. They had no resistance to purchasing. And that was the ethical basis on which it was being done. Banks, financial institutions, Amazon is using this data, this type of data, to ring-fence people who are black, ring-fence people who are women, ring-fence segments and structures. Now, how ethical is that? Isn't that dangerous? That we give people, so computers aren't biased, robots aren't biased, AI is not biased, we are. So we need to be looking at ourselves and do self-reflection and then say, because we are helping this data to be created. So unless we have not been able to go back and learn philosophy, by the way guys, go back to college and take a degree in bioethics or in philosophy or something like that for you to rethink your brain and rewire your brain for the future. The future of this world is not just data science. It also is humanity. And that is one of the key things that comes in. So, and we have to find a way to think differently. We have been trained to go to college and get degrees and MBAs and finance and accounting and law and stuff like that. That's nothing wrong with that. It's brilliant. It helps you to train it. But going forward, what we need to do is to build our multiple intelligences. We need to have spatial intelligence, physical intelligence. I have a chart on this. Social intelligence, tactile intelligence, all of these things, these are the intelligences we need to build as human beings. You as bankers and financial institutions need to be able to start selecting people based on multiple intelligences, not just numerical and verbal that you go get when you go to university. These are the intelligences which make us more human and keep us giving the lead so we can ride the horse. So, folks, take out your microscope, which you are really masters at, and you do all of this. This is what you're absolute masters at. The other side is the telescope. One eye on the microscope, the other eye on the telescope. It gives you a headache, but that's the sort of thing that you need to be looking at and you need to be doing very consciously and very attentively. Banking on the future is about going back to first principles based on the utility of banking and finance. Just as a reminder, storing value, transacting and transferring money, and lending and credit. Those are the three elements of utility. Our element of trust is built around those utilities. We use AI and technology platforms to build trust in and around those utilities. That is how we build trust. If tomorrow your branch closes down because there's a fire versus your entire cloud platform breaks down, and you as a bank, where will you lose more trust? On the technology piece, not the one branch. And grow your business with zero marginal cost and creation of demand at almost zero new revenues. So we need to think of completely new systems, parallel systems starting on the edge.